Hello again, this is Sam Houston, and welcome to My Front Porch. People resist change and taxes. I've lived in Granbury for 9 years, and I've seen quite a few changes and a whole lot of growth. Now, there are more houses, apartments, and condos, and certainly more tourism. With the 11th biggest city in the country less than 45 minutes away and expanding in our direction, I think it's safe to say that growth is going to continue. Even with the growth, our taxes are lower than most every municipality in our area, and our city government has done a commendable job of managing finances, planning, and building for the future, all while maintaining our historical past. Has all of our infrastructure kept up with the growth? Well, arguably it has not, but perhaps rather than blaming the city and county officials, we need to look at ourselves. It is hard enough to get the average citizen to spend money when there's an obvious need, but to get them to spend money for a future need is almost impossible. The truth is, people want things to be better, but they don't want to have to pay for it. And they certainly do not want to pay until the time comes when there's no other alternative. On social media, there are citizens who complain about the traffic, the taxes, the visitors, and the growth. They seem to be a small but vocal group which long for Granbury to be the way it was years ago, a small, sleepy little rural town. Even if they are recent immigrants, they apparently feel that no additional person should be allowed to move in now that they're here. In their minds, this would solve the entire growth problem. All this got me to wonder what the early settlers of Granbury thought about growth and what issues they might have had as the city grew and expanded. I did a little research in the newspaper archives, and taking those facts and adding a little literary license, I came up with the following guesstimate of what some of the conversations in Granbury were many years ago. The Granbury Bridge Company constructed an arched bridge over the Brazos in 1878. The cost of the bridge was originally borne by local businessmen, who then charged a toll to cross. Being the only bridge across the Brazos above Waco, thousands of immigrant wagons and travelers crossed into Hood County, with many of them remaining to become permanent citizens. In 1893, the bridge was purchased by the county and bonds were issued, thus requiring payment by citizens in the form of taxes. I wonder if those who no longer had to wade dangerous low-water crossings of the Brazos or travel for many miles to find a bridge thought that their tax dollars were well spent. The need for infrastructure was there long before people were ready to vote to assume financial responsibility. In 1923, Granbury got the first sewer lines. The cost of this infrastructure was placed on the shoulders of taxpayers. I could almost hear an outraged taxpayer scream that he'd used an outhouse all his life and there was no need to waste money on something frivolous like a sewer system. Somehow, I think the water might have started tasting better and the health and safety might have been improved dramatically with the induction of a sewer system. Today, would any of us question whether the assessment of taxes for a sewer system was prudent and necessary? Or would we long for the days of yesteryear when people had to go use an outhouse? Included in this article is an old picture of the courthouse square taken on a Saturday afternoon at the turn of the century. You'll notice the streets are lined with teams of horses with wagons and horses tied to hitching posts. When looking at this photo, one can almost hear the voices of citizens saying, "The traffic is terrible in Granbury on a Saturday afternoon. There's no place to park my team, and I had to wait 30 minutes to get where I could get close enough to the mercantile to be able to load my wagon with supplies." Traffic is sort of a chicken and egg thing. Before new roads are built, a need must exist, and then taxes are allocated and roads constructed. In Granbury, I think the need has been established for a change in our road system, and the state and county and city are all working feverishly to accomplish those changes in a timely, cost-conscious manner. It's not unlike the Crescent Bypass. Because of recent construction, those new to the community will never endure the aggravation of sitting at that train crossing. There was an established need. The change was made, and we are all better for it. Yes, it costs money to make the change, but anyone who does not think the Crescent Bypass was a good use of tax dollars never had to sit waiting at that train crossing. I, for one, do not wish to go back to the pre-bypass days. Change and growth are inevitable. Time will not go backwards to a past we remember as being perfect and ideal. With change comes the need for improvements, and they cost money. When we fail to act to make those needed improvements, the delay invariably costs more money and causes more problems. Instead of complaining, let's get behind the infrastructure improvements and make our community better. The sooner, the better. Infrastructure is an investment in our future. Thought for the day. What will we do if it is all about the hokey pokey? Until next time, I'll keep riding the storm out.
You've been listening to From My Front Porch with Sam Houston, brought to you by the Granbury Theatre Company. You can catch Sam's column every week in the print edition of the Hood County News or online at hcnews.com.